country of 28.5 million people with beaches. It has a 14,000 foot Mount Cameroon. It has rainforests, deserts, savanna, a lot of beautiful diversity. If you're in the north, you'll hear more French. If you're in the south, you're going to hear more English spoken. Sounds nice, huh? But let's take a closer look. Over 40% of the population is under 15 years old. Fewer than 20% use contraception. HIV/AIDS is a serious health issue. Poverty is increasing. Food insecurity is a major, major concern due to natural disasters, lack of infrastructure, government corruption, and gender equality is part of the social fabric. As we noted last month in Guatemala, Cameroon also has a high incidence of GBV, gender-based violence. In Cameroon, the pandemic and ongoing Anglophone crisis, which is a civil war that broke out 4.5 years ago, have caused GBV to skyrocket. As a result of the war, almost 500,000 people they fled the conflict, and they're now crammed with others in houses or refugee camps. These people are referred to, and remember this because you're going to hear it, as IDPs, internal displaced persons. And when these refugees work long days, many as subsistence farmers, their children are left alone and they're very vulnerable. Gender-based violence, including, I never thought I'd put these two words together. Child rape is commonplace in Cameroon. Watchdog organizations estimate that 40% of children in Cameroon have been sexually abused. 51% of women ages 15 to 49 in Cameroon have experienced intimate partner physical or sexual violence. And 33% of women in Cameroon have experienced that in the last year. So that's half the population, 14 million women, 33% of 14 million. All of these numbers are likely understated, by the way, because it is extremely rare for a woman or a child to report her experience of rape or physical abuse, especially children. Women and children hide behind a veil of shame and fear that can cause problems in school and in all their future relationships, and they typically think they are to blame. So these women, when they get raped, they think, I'm to blame for being raped. It's something I did. In the Oroko culture, men believe and openly state that women will not understand that they are loved unless they are beaten. And so a man must beat his wife to demonstrate his love. So this is a deep-seated cultural belief that has been handed down through many generations. Okay, so what do we do about this tragic situation? When a problem is bad, the solution, why not? Let's bring in some smart, driven, generous women from Silicon Valley and have them, because they don't know it all, right? They're not there. Let's have them partner with a brilliant, dynamic woman on the ground in Cameroon and then let them get to work, right? So introducing our July Rise Grant for $30,000 to Global Pearls. Global Pearls was founded by 3 women from Silicon Valley who met at Intel here in Santa Clara. They all worked there together, and they had a vision that the most effective way to accomplish international development work is by empowering outstanding locals from the outset. Global Pearls did the legwork to get our RISE grant for this month, and then they found an outstanding local partner in Cameroon. Her name is Nikinti Nafuru, and I think we're going to meet her tonight, who has comprehensive solutions that will be implemented through her effort, which is called Re-Wo Cam. Rescue Wo Women Cameroon. Rescue Women Cameroon. Nikinti, who remained withdrawn and silenced in her very own veil of shame for 24 years after being raped, one day woke up and determined that she was just fed up with the deeply ingrained culture of violence against women, and she vowed to train, heal, transform all the culture by creating a collective movement that uses media and gatherings to unite women's voices. So our grant, it's going to support Nikinti's plan to address child rape. Her objectives, again, let's protect girls from rape by teaching them how to avoid dangerous situations and what to do if they're forced into a potential rape. So how do you prevent it? Let's bring healing to rape victims by removing their shames, bringing in counselors to do that, and extend the message. But let's go bigger. We can't just do that. She's going to even go further. She's going to extend the message to the broader community and begin to transform the entire culture. These men feel like they have to beat their wives, right? By discussing rape and calling it the crime that it is. So this month, our collective, nationwide, I think it's international now, $30,000 grant will send 400 children ages 5 to 15 to 8 child rape camps with 50 in each camp. These children will become ambassadors and learn to advocate for other children who have been raped or are in danger. The camp will revive traditional African sports and games, and through all these sports and games, they'll create a fun environment, they'll develop trust, and team spirit will come out and it'll merge, and then it'll put the children in a relaxed state of mind that fosters learning, and ultimately, some of these girls are going to share what happened to them, and they're going to get help. One of the camps, of the 8, is going to be just for boys. We're going to try that and see how that works towards changing the culture. Each camper will receive a bright color Girls Against Rape uniform, and it's a whole Adidas outfit, and it's amazing. It's kind of crazy, amazing, but this is what they have to wear. Big, bold letters, stop. Don't rape me. My body is sacred. That's what it says on these red shirts. And on the back, it says Re-Wo Cam, Rescue Women Cameroon Camp. So there you go. See some pictures there. So we've got the camp, and we're going to have sports trainers and counselors and sexual and reproductive health and rights and trainers in.
Hey, Deborah, just 1 minute. Lisa has arrived. And okay. Did you want to play the video? Keep talking, or
I'm almost done.
Okay.
I'm within moments.
Got it. Keep going.
So there's a second part to this. During the pilot camp, the campers asked Nikinti they said, we have a plan to reach more girls. And they asked if they would start a Girls Against Rape clubs at their secondary schools. And the Kinty jumped on it. Great idea. We're going to start these clubs. You'll have a place to talk and gather and learn on an ongoing basis. And you'll have support groups. And so we are going to start these clubs for 500 more girls. So that's in addition. So we got the camps, we've got the clubs, and in addition, for broader outreach, each camp will get a media budget. So we'll go beyond the 400 and the 500 people and the clubs and all of that outreach will go to media. And there's a media budget for TV and radio exposure. And this has created tremendous excitement, talking openly in the community about this very taboo subject, and the legal rights of women is creating a stir in Cameroon. And this is new and this is good. And that's where we are. So now we are going to move to the 5-minute video, and then we will bring on Lisa. And
thank you, Deborah. Wow. What an amazing presentation and so moving. And we're going to now watch the video. So share screen.
Appreciate your technical support here tonight.
Oh, I know.
We got the best for the birthday girl.
so I said we'd go to Cameroon, and we are going to Cameroon. Just via Zoom.
I mean, we want the video. Oh, okay. So,
Or Lisa may have it. Lisa can share.
no.
Still here.
So this video was so well done by Global Pearls. You'll get an idea of just how brilliant these people are, and you'll get to see Nikinti, which is
So it's not 9 minutes because that's the
no, it's
sustained.
5
it's the
minutes.
first 5.
5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
To the left.
I was raised as a child.
That's
For
Nikinti.
23 years, I stayed silent. I'm angry. I went to the rape. I was the top student, held as a role model for other daughters in the community, full of self-confidence. But my rapist took all that away from me. He made me feel dirty, stupid, inferior, and I didn't tell my story to anyone for 24 years. But when the Anglophone crisis hit Cameroon and towns were flooded with young IDPs who escaped the terrible violence in their communities, I couldn't stay silent anymore. These young girls were homeless, powerless, and tired, and they were being victimized by men who took advantage of their vulnerability. In telling my story publicly, I not only found healing for myself, I found myself a mentor for so many other women who had suffered similar experiences. The organization I founded and currently run, Rescue Women Cameroon, addresses many forms of violence and injustices against women. Recently, child rape has been skyrocketing, and even infants and toddlers are victims. So, my volunteers and I planned our first Girls Against Rape camp. But children find it difficult to fight rape. We are organizing this program for these little children to enable them understand what rape is all about, how they can identify a rapist, how they can stop the rapist from coming towards them, and how they can speak out when they are survivors of rape. To create an atmosphere of trust, we decided to revive our traditional culture by introducing Cameroonian sports, games, and songs that are unknown amongst younger generations. This created a fun environment, developed team spirit, and put the children in a relaxed state that fostered learning and sharing. During the education portion of the camp, we had survivors, experts, and social workers instructing and guiding discussions with the goal of protecting girls from rape. The children were amazed when I told my own child rape story, and this broke down the barriers of shame that so many victims carry. One teenage girl told me that she had been raped by a cousin at age 5 and hadn't told anyone. Importantly, we made sure what we were doing was broadcasted on local TV and radio so we could impact a much larger audience. Kumba was buzzing with excitement over our camp. Everyone was talking about it, men and women both, and it left the Kumba population in awe. Our country has been so indoctrinated by a culture of gender-based violence that boys grow into men, honestly believing that violence against women is not only their right, but their obligation. Talking openly in the broader community about this taboo subject and the legal rights of women is creating a real stir, and we believe it will impact the views that men and boys have about gender-based violence and influence their behavior. The biggest surprise for me was that the older girls at our camp eagerly asked if they could start Girls Against Rape clubs at their schools so they could share the teachings with other girls. I did not see that coming. These clubs will not only extend the lessons to more school children, but they will create ongoing supportive social groups so girls will not need to navigate the dangers of childhood alone. Already, child rape victims are approaching our camp participants for help, and our children even stopped a potential gang rape of a 9-year-old by quickly reaching out to us for help. Another 7-year-old informed us of a classmate who was being raped so we could intervene.
Screen sharing if you want.
Expressed their anger to us, anger that their own daughters hadn't been included in our camp. We could see we needed to do more of these kinds. And your Together Women Rights Grant will allow us to do just that.
Okay. So we'll stop sharing the screen.
Okay. Look, we have Nikki. We're in Cameroon.
So we don't want
Hello.
Ah,
Where are we? We don't want to share the screen.
can they see me?
We'll be just a minute, Lisa and Nikinti.
Wow. So
Okay.
I'll do a brief introduction.
do a
We've
video.
got you've just seen the amazing Nikinti Nafuru, and we also are joined. So it's 3:30 a.m. right now in Cameroon, and Nikinti is in the middle of a camp session as well and facilitating that, and she'll tell us a little bit about that today. But also joining her is the president of Global Pearls, Lisa Robinson Spader. Hello, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Nikinti. Good early morning, Nikinti. Lisa has a master's degree in economics from Harvard with a concentration in international development and international economics. So you can see that she's well positioned to also guide from this end. So what a great team. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to start with the first question and then I will open it up to everyone else. Nikinti, I hear that you are in the midst of camp. Today was day 4 for you. And my question to you was, how did day 4 go today?
Day 4, I was discussing with Lisa. You can see I woke up this morning with swollen eyes because day 4 was full of cries and hugs and all emotions rushing through everybody. Because I had to tell the participants my rape story. And shockingly, 3 of them picked up the courage to tell their story publicly to other participants. horror. It was like a horror movie. Girls who have been raped up to 6 times a day, and they couldn't get themselves together to tell somebody. And some of them with their parents telling them that they should keep it a family secret for life. So it was fascinating, interesting at the same time for us to listen to that 14-year-old tell us her story, crying and rolling on the floor, just to say, I felt like I needed to free my spirit, just the way Madame Nakinti told us her story. I felt like I needed to tell my story so I can free my spirit, even though my father told me never to tell my story. So today was one of those days that I don't want to say we never expected, but I did not see it coming. It was.
Okay, we lost just the last
It's just a bit of
just
slow,
the
a
last
slow video.
line, Nikinti, but we thank you so much for sharing what you're sharing and allowing these girls to release this burden that they've been carrying, to free themselves of this burden and start healing. We can't thank you enough. Thank you for your good work. And now I'll open it up. I'll open it for everyone else. Any questions that anybody has?
I'm going to start. Nikinti, wow. Could you, like, how does camp work? Like, how many hours a day are you there? And how do you create a safe environment for the kids so that they're able to share? You mentioned you told your story, which is so powerful, but do you play games or sing songs, or how do you create that culture of sharing and safety?
We begin every day with sports. Every day begins with a 2 hour sporting activities and games. These are sporting activities and games that they have never experienced in their life with the coming of globalization. Let me say globalization, because a lot of children are more into watching television and playing video games. So we teach them these sports that we engaged in as children. And so they find it really interesting. So we engage them, build team spirit amongst them, build confidence, and they create friendships. And then after the 2 hours, we have lectures, video projections, so that they can learn. So every day we take them from 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you, Nikinti. This is so wonderful that you're doing this work. I know there's a lot of people who might have questions in the crowd. So,
Anybody have a question for Nikinti?
Is this camp a day camp and then you send them home at night, or do they live there together? Do you all live together?
So Nikinti, we're being asked: is this a day camp only, or do the girls stay overnight during the week of camp?
No, the girls leave from their houses to the camp and go back at the end of every day, every closing hour.
I see. Okay.
How do you get the parents involved to support your work because of the gender biases in the country?
It's been tough, but I think we are getting to convince more parents to believe in our work, because in everything that we do, we first of all seek the support of these parents. We have something that we call the consent form. And so if you want your child to be a part of this whole process or this whole program, you have to come to the office, or we come to your house and explain ourselves, and then let you read the consent form and sign. By you signing, it means you have agreed to the terms of our program and you find it interesting for your child to be a part of the program. We sign those consent forms and food allergy forms. It's a must before children have to participate. So I think parents believe in us, mothers and fathers, they do believe in us, and they want their children to be part of this, because in Cameroon, it is for sure that parents find it difficult to discuss these topics with their children. And every day they keep hearing stories about child rape, and they do not know how to break this silence to start teaching their children about it. So they feel like we are breaking that barrier, and they need someone to tell them if they cannot tell them.
Wonderful.
That's exactly what we are doing.
Anybody else? Question? Yeah.
When you have a situation, as you do, where there are children that are holding on to this secret, and then culturally, there's a large part of the culture that's been supporting it. How are you able to deal with the parents when they come with this surprise that their child has been raped? Are they angry with their child for not having told before? Or do you find that the parents really do embrace the program, and are they able to support their children despite these cultural biases?
Um, from our past experience, even before I started this program, I remember when I told my own story on Facebook, and a lot of girls got to me inbox and told me, this is a story we have been keeping for so and so years, and now I am a big girl or a woman. I need you to come and tell my mom or my dad, because I have not found the courage to tell them. I remember traveling about 400 kilometers to go and reveal this secret to a follower's mother. And we met her in the market. I told her the story. She broke down completely. She called her elder brother and asked me to tell the story to her brother as well. The both of them, I think I was happy because they were supportive, because in the end I told them, you should not feel bad. You said this is going to make your daughter not to get married. I said, look at me. I am also a survivor of rape, but I am a strong woman. I am thriving. I have gone past what people think or what people expect. I should be broken. No, I'm not. If you look at me and you see a strong woman who has navigated the difficulties of rape and is now an advocate, then you should see the same thing for your daughter and put Yawunde that she called Baga, boys and girls against rape, because of us or because of me. So it's interesting that the children, for the parents, are supporting their children. Sadly, it seems, when the children reveal their stories after a number of years. But for the children who reported their cases of rape today, they said when they told, one of them who told their parents received serious beatings from her dad. Serious beatings from her dad. It looks like when it just happens, the parents tend to blame their children. But if it's after some years that the child is a bit big, or the child has grown to become a woman or an adult, they get all the support that they need. And this has led us to start thinking of something new altogether. Because if we are talking to these children, I was just discussing with my elder brother, and he told me, look for ways to bring the parents together. You should do this. And I told him it's not easy, but it's something that we want to do, because we have to bring these parents together and tell them about parent-child relationship, because they need it. These children, they are failing their children because their children cannot even tell them. Our parents are the first people who blame us, and it is not supposed to be so. That's why we stay silent for so long in the first place. So I think for the children who revealed to us today that they have been raped, today I'm going to have a one-on-one counseling session with all of them, and I will accompany them through their process of healing. First, by going to their parents to tell them, this happened to your child and she needs all the support that she deserves.
Yeah. Cynthia.
We've always heard that rape is not a sexual thing. It's usually because of anger or acting out or whatever it is, but it tends to not really be sex. And it's very, very hard for me to think that someone could be satisfied by raping a child. That's outrageous. And I'm sure that there's some girls that are raped that have their periods. Is there a high incidence of rape where there's children conceived out of the rape, and how is that dealt with?
I didn't get you quite clearly. It's raining, so I'm struggling to get you. It's raining and there is noise.
Nikinti, the question is for children that are raped that have already started with their period so that they can get pregnant. Are there are there a lot of children that become pregnant as a result of these rapes? And then what happens?
Yes, a lot. A lot of them have become pregnant. Let me just go back to the conference that we held in February last year, the Survivor Voices, where we brought survivors of rape from all over Cameroon in one location for 3 days. There was a participant who was a product of rape. And when she applied for that program, she told me, my mom had made me promise never to tell this story. But I feel that guilt inside of me because I want to tell my story. And she was part of this conference. She is a product of rape. And quite often, because people see abortion as a taboo, as a lawful thing in Cameroon, it's illegal. Children who are raped and they get pregnant go through that pregnancy journey and deliver those children. Most of them. Most parents do not accept that their children should get an abortion, and it makes it difficult because so many parents are having children out of rape. And it is a big family secret. Just a few people will tell you, I am a product of rape. Or a few mothers will tell you, I had this child out of rape. When I told my story in 2018, a friend of mine, we were in school together, she got pregnant in Form 2. Form 2 in Cameroon is about 12 years old. I remember we laughed at her when she got pregnant as children. We did not know anything. We kept mocking and laughing at her. So when I finally shared my story in 2018, she's currently in London. She called me on phone and told me, you remember that my pregnancy? I said, yes. She said, I was raped and I could not tell anyone because my parents told me to be silent. He said, and do you know who raped me? I said, no. He called the name. It was my classmate. It was shocking to see people who have been battling in pains and in silence with family, forcing them to remain silent for God knows how long. So you see, the pregnancies are there, which is as a result of rape, but nobody is saying anything about it.
Nikinti, I have a question about the boys. Yeah. You're going to have one camp for boys only? Is this
Yeah.
Or next year, or one of the camps is for boys?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? They'll be learning, the kind of things they'll be learning?
The camp for boys, we want to educate them to become responsible men. We want to make them to be, if we're singing all these songs of rape, it is because they are the main cause. They are behind this whole issue of rape. Even though they too experience rape, but the greater number of rape survivors or rape victims are women. And this is as a result of men raping them. So we want to tell them how it is not okay for them to rape. We want to tell them what these girls are going through if they rape them. We want to make them understand that it's a criminal activity under the Cameroonian Penal Code and it is punishable. We want to tell them the crimes that awaits them if they rape. We want to tell them that times are changing and more organizations are struggling to fight for the rights of women and girls. That's why we are bringing these boys together to make them understand the difficulties that girls go through if they rape them, and so that they can stand for the rights of not only themselves, but for the rights of their sisters and their neighbors and all the girl children around them.
That's
I'd just like to add to the group. So each year we're going to do, there are 4 rape camps with 50 children in each camp. One of the 4 camps is going to be for boys. It'll be our last camp this summer, our 4th camp. And already there are 50 boys who have registered for the camp. We're going to have to turn 30 away because we can only take 50. So there is a demand even amongst the boys to attend these camps.
That's great. I didn't realize there'll be 2. That's great. That's great. Bravo. Any other questions? Go for it.
What age do people typically get married, and typically how many children do they expect to have? And the third question is, do you have risks from Boko Haram?
I think we may be having internet issues with.
Yeah, I didn't get the second question. I got the first one quite all right. The second one, I lost connection. The first one, what age children are expected to get married and how many children they're supposed to have? What was the second question?
The second one is,
It's Boko Haram. Are you under, are you at risk of, say, all the children getting taken away by Boko Haram or something like that?
Okay, before, girls got married really early in Cameroon, but I think there is a law. There is a law. Is it banning?
I'm not sure how long she's going to be out. I think that there's a difference between the traditional communities that live in the forest communities versus women who live in towns. The age is later in town areas, quite early still in the forest communities. And as far as Boko Haram is concerned, my understanding, if she comes back on, she might correct me, but my understanding is they are primarily up in the very northern tip of Cameroon, which
Yes,
is
they
not
are in the Muslim areas. Yeah, right, way north, way north.
way north. It looks like we've lost her altogether. Maybe she'll try calling back in again.
Lisa, I have one last question. I'm Carol here. Thank you so much, first of all, for coming. We're confused. We're shocked by the toddlers and the babies getting raped. I actually hadn't heard. I'm a physician. I'm not aware of any cases like that here. There might be, but also thinking about the men and the violence. And of course, some of the guys are violent, angry men, but there's must be many good men in Cameroon too. And we're getting the impression that the culture is universal, that they must rape their wives and children to feel love. Can you
So I think there's a difference between violence and rape. Until a few years ago, rape was not pervasive. Child rape was not pervasive in Cameroon, but gender-based violence was. So men feel like they need to beat their wives in order for them to feel loved. But I think rape is it looks like Nikinti is back here, so she could answer this question. But I think child rape is relatively, child rape has existed since the beginning of time, but as a widespread issue, it has become very widespread recently, not in the past, but gender-based violence has been very much a pervasive part of the culture. Go ahead, and I don't know if you heard the question.
We have been experiencing the sociopolitical crisis in Cameroon now for 5 years. It's a war. We are in war, so to say, in the Anglophone regions. And a lot of children are not only experiencing rape, they are experiencing forced marriage as well. Because I remember once last year, they called me to intervene in the case of a little girl who was forcefully an armed separatist fighter. That is what we call them, those who want us to separate from the French Cameroon. An armed separatist fighter wanted her for marriage by force. And the boy had told the little girl's mother that she was coming to pick her wife up.
Okay, I think we're getting towards 8. McKinsey
was a 13-year-old. You know, so the incidences of rape has increased as a result of the crisis, with more men staying at home, more people being displaced, and they do not have things to do, roaming the quarters with children, where women are in the farms or in the markets raising income. These children are left with those men and boys in the quarters, and they are being raped on a daily basis.
So since the Anglophone crisis has increased things, all the IDPs and all of that, the internally displaced person, yes.
I'll try to put on my earpiece.
Okay, so that's okay. So we do need to wrap up. And thank you, Mackenzie and Lisa. But before we wrap up, I wanted to tell you that I personally am so moved by your work. And I look and it's wonderful. You have camps and you have clubs and you have media coverage and all of these things, but I personally want you to have more. And so I am going to send you $1,250 today.
Oh my God.
So that you can increase that. But I'm also going to ask if anybody here wants to help match that. If the group together or somebody or whatever wants to match me in partial or any way. And if you would, let Carol know. Carol will connect you. This donation cannot go directly to RISE, because if it goes to RISE, it just gets dispersed among all the grants. And for this one, my purpose is to have it go to this cause. So it can go directly to Global Pearls, a 501c3 tax deductible. So anybody that is interested in coming together, if there is a way, if I do 1,250 and there's another 1,250, I figure that there's 2,500, right? And so you'll have a little bit more. And if you have that, is there something you could do with that right away?
And let me just add a little bit. At Global Pearls, the founders of Global Pearls match every donation that comes into Global Pearls. So if
So
you send
you're telling me that if we do 2,500 would become 5,000?
Yes.
So instead of a $30,000 grant, it would go up to 35, and Portola Valley would be 5,000 of it. Or driving 5,000.
Well, I'll kick in 200.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we are going to work on, see if anybody's interested, they'll join. At a minimum, you will have.
We just got 200 more.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. It's up to everybody and it is no pressure. But this did move me so much. And thank you so much, Mackenzie, for your good work. Lisa, for your fabulous work on behalf of with Global Pearls. What a great way to approach development internationally and helping other women and children, and we really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough. And Mackenzie for being here now at 4 in the morning.
Thank you.
It's gonna be time to wake up and go to camp. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to kill the Zoom now?
That's a 5-year-old.